Hello friends, this is Tisha from Meadows and Mortar by Tisha, and today we are going to update this bread box using milk paint. Have you ever used milk paint before? Because it is a learning curve, but I'm here to teach you. So the first thing that we are going to do is I'm taking some spray shellac and I'm just putting it all over this bread box. Now the person that had this bread box before me, they painted it. You can see they just did one coat of a white paint. They obviously didn't use any sort of primer or anything, so there was some bleed through. So I'm just wanting to make sure that that shellac is really locking everything in so I don't have tannins come through. Then I come through with Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, and this one is called Pantry Door. It's a nice light green color, and you mix it with a 1-to-1 ratio. So you use 1 part of the powder to 1 part of the water, and then you mix it up, and then you apply it on evenly. The thing with milk paint is you never know what you're going to get until it dries. So a lot of times whenever you apply shellac underneath it, it will help it crackle a little more, but it doesn't really cause any more of the chips than what you would normally have. But I am wanting crackling and chips. The thing that I've learned with milk paint is the thicker that you mix it, so if you mix a little more of the powder to a little less of the water, you are likely to get more of the big chunks come off of it. But it's really just personal preference. The back of the bag says to mix it a 1-to-1 ratio, so that's what I did here. I was hoping that the shellac would help it crackle a little more than what it did, but I still ended up with a beautiful result. After that, I use IOD's Transfer Traditional Pots, and I'm just picking out one of these little appliques off of there, and then I'm gonna put it on my glass that's on the middle of this. So when you're using a furniture transfer, you're just going to take that white backing sheet off of it, and then you're going to lay it down on the piece that you're wanting to transfer it to, and then you're going to use one of these little sticks to just rub or burnish, whatever you want to call it, just the piece all over there. So you can see me trying to pull back to see if that's releasing well. Some of the finer pieces you may have to go over a little bit harder or maybe a couple more times because they are a little more fragile. But you just rub it on there and then you pull the very back sheet off, and then you have a beautiful transfer. So I have that little rooster inside of that crest, and I thought that that was going to go well. Now I'm using the Sweet Pickins oil wax, and this is the dark one. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm wanting to darken this finish up a little bit, but I'm also wanting to make a little bit of a resist for my next part that I'm going to put on there. So as you all know, paint doesn't like to stick to wax very well, but it will stick to it sometimes. So what I'm planning on doing is using this dark wax to go over the whole piece, and then I'm going to come in with a different color, a darker green of that milk paint, and then I'm going to layer it over top of areas of it. So I'm hoping that parts of it are going to stick and then parts of it are going to flake off a little bit more. So I'm just putting this on, I think I just used a shop towel on this one, and then I rub it in, and then after that I take a clean shop towel and then I just wipe off the excess of it. And as you can see, it's just darkening the paint on there, and I'm not doing it evenly. So I'm trying to make it darker in some spots and lighter in some spots. Then I come in with Annie Sloan's dark wax, and then I'm just going to sporadically put this on it anywhere that I think that there would be finger wear. Now I know that these are a wax product on top of a wax product, and that's completely fine because remember I'm going to make this a chippy look. So my products don't have to adhere very well at this point, because once that I buff back, the parts that are going to stay are going to stay, the parts that aren't. I'm looking for a very authentic, worn, distressed look. Although the Annie Sloan wax is a dark wax, you can see it's a different color wax than the dark wax that I used before. So once that I get it on there, I just take a rag and then I buff off the excess of it. This is going to give me a nice layered look. It's going to look like it's aged with dirt because we're having 2 different colors of that dark wax on there. So I'm really getting a good color variation. But I am wanting to focus more on the bottom and the edges. As you can see, even though I'm putting it all over sporadically, I am focusing more on certain areas that I think would normally be darker with wear. So now I'm using Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in the color Basil. And I'm just going to take this and put it all across the edges of it. I'm going to sort of swoop it in a little bit, but I'm not doing full coverage on this. Again, I'm wanting a worn, chippy look. I'm wanting it to look like I have had this painted a couple different colors and then the layers have just worn off of it over time. So I'm focusing more on the edges and anywhere that I think that paint would stay. Now you can see, look at this, all this nice, beautiful chippiness that's on here. So after I get this completely dry, then I take a 220 grit sandpaper and I'm just sort of wiping off those chipped areas, and then I use Annie Sloan's clear wax. You can use any clear wax, and then I come in with the dark wax, because once that I got the clear wax on, I felt like it still needed a little more variation, so I just added the dark wax into a couple more of the areas. Now I have some aged brass gilding wax. This is from Redesign with Prima. I'm going over all of my hardware inside and out with this, and as you can see, I've already put my glass back in there. I just used some tacks to tack, some decorative tacks to tack that back in place. So I'm going over my handle, all of my hinges on the inside and the out with this, and then I'm taking it across the edges just to give it a little bit of shimmer. I will put just some sporadic areas on the inside of it so that it looks like it has been gilded a little bit, but we have a little bit of shimmer. It's going to look a little more of a modern farmhouse instead of just like a primitive farmhouse look. This is going to look beautiful in anybody's kitchen, and I am super excited about this. This little bit of shimmer is just one of those things that just really adds to the detail, and it really makes it look more professionally finished. Even though we are going for an aged look, we still want it to look professional. And I just want to say thank you all so much for watching. If you have not already, I just ask that you will subscribe to my page. I will have new products up, I will have new videos up, new techniques, and hopefully we can learn together. I do furniture and I do decor. I do a bunch of different things. I have a little booth in Southwest Virginia, and I am always posting videos of what I'm up to. And if you would like to join along with me, please just follow. If you're not already subscribed to my page, then please do that. I'm also on Facebook. I am very active on there. It's Meadows and Mortar by Tisha on Facebook. If you haven't already commented on this video or liked this video, I just ask you to do that too. And if you'll hit that little bell up there, that will notify you anytime that I post a new video, and then you'll get to hang out with the cool girl from Southwest Virginia. And this is the final product, so you get to see all that chippy goodness. There's some beautiful crackle in it, that nice subtle shimmer. It just has my heart. I am in love with shimmer, and I always try to incorporate it in most of my pieces, even if it is this old antique looking finish. So you can see it looks like the edges are just a little bit gilded. We can see that nice crackle. We can see some of the chips, and with milk paint, you never know what you're going to get, but I really do love the finish that this came out with. And thanks for watching, guys. Can't wait to see you all next time.